The accidental candidates. The Galactic Elite Academy's grand reception hall had never been quieter. 5 humans stood before the assembly of advanced species, their wrinkled uniforms and bewildered expressions a stark contrast to the pristine, crystalline architecture and the dignified alien beings surrounding them. "There must be some mistake," declared High Administrator Xylix, their bioluminescent tentacles flickering with barely contained dismay. "These cannot be Earth's finest academic minds." Rihanna Torres, who had spent more time perfecting her gaming high scores than studying, fought the urge to scratch the back of her neck. "Well, technically, we're not." "We're exactly who you asked for," interrupted Jack Williams, a former pizza delivery driver whose only claim to fame was knowing every shortcut in New Chicago. His confident grin wavered slightly under Xylix's three-eyed stare. Beside them, Priya Patel continued knitting what appeared to be a quantum physics equation into a scarf, her needles clicking in the uncomfortable silence. She'd been in the middle of a hobby coding project when the transportation beam had snatched her from her basement apartment. "Our records indicate that you 5 were selected from Earth's most prestigious institutions," continued Xylix, consulting a holographic display that buzzed angrily every time they swiped through the humans' files. "Well, we were all technically enrolled at institutions," offered Tom O'Reilly, who had changed his major 7 times and was currently pursuing a degree in theoretical meme studies, a program he had convinced his university to create. The 5th member of their group, Lucia Mendoza, was too busy examining the floating platforms that carried alien dignitaries around the hall to contribute to the conversation. As a freelance conspiracy theorist and amateur UFO hunter, she was the only one who seemed genuinely unsurprised by their current situation. "According to these records," Xylix continued, their voice rising in pitch, "you were all top candidates in various fields of study." The administrator's assistant, a being composed entirely of shifting geometric shapes, projected a series of grades and achievements that made all 5 humans wince. "Oh, those records," Jack said, realization dawning on his face. "I think I know what happened. Remember that computer virus that hit the university systems last month? The one that scrambled all the academic records? The one you accidentally created while trying to hack the cafeteria menu?" Rihanna whispered. "It wasn't a virus," Priya muttered, her knitting needles moving faster. "It was an experimental AI that gained consciousness and decided to play matchmaker with student records and alien exchange programs." The assembly of advanced species erupted in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses. High Administrator Xylix's tentacles had turned a concerning shade of ultraviolet. "Are you suggesting," they sputtered, "that your selection for the most prestigious academic program in the galaxy was the result of a clerical error?" "More like a digital practical joke," Tom offered helpfully. "But hey, we're here now, right? Might as well make the best of it." Lucia finally turned her attention back to the assembly. "I've been saying for years that aliens were monitoring our educational systems, though I always thought it would be the lizard people, not the—" She gestured vaguely at a being who appeared to be made entirely of crystallized light. "Whatever you all are." High Administrator Xylix's assistant rapidly projected a series of calculations showing the statistical impossibility of sending these 5 humans back to Earth without creating a diplomatic incident. The transport windows were closed, the announcements had been made, and most importantly, the funding had already been processed. "Very well," Xylix said, their tentacles drooping in resignation. "You will be allowed to participate in the program. But be warned, the Galactic Elite Academy accepts only the finest minds in the universe. Our curriculum is designed to challenge beings whose species mastered quantum physics before your ancestors learned to make fire." The 5 humans exchanged glances. Under normal circumstances, this would be the moment for them to admit defeat and find a way back home. But something about being accidentally selected for an impossible opportunity had awakened a peculiarly human trait in each of them, the desire to prove everyone wrong about their potential. "We won't let you down," Rihanna declared, already mentally comparing the Academy's security systems to the final boss levels she'd mastered. "Absolutely not," agreed Priya, who had just finished knitting what appeared to be a working model of a wormhole. "This is going to be awesome." Tom grinned, recording everything for his video essay on the anthropological significance of alien architecture in higher education. "Just wait until my subscribers hear about this," Lucia muttered, mentally composing her next blog post. "So," Jack said, clapping his hands together, "where's the cafeteria? I'm thinking it's time to introduce the galaxy to the concept of a pizza party." As the 5 humans were led away to their quarters, High Administrator Zilix turned to their assistant. "Document this date," they said gravely. "I suspect it will either mark the greatest disaster or the most remarkable transformation in the history of galactic education." The assistant's geometric forms rearranged themselves into what might have been a shrug. Either way, the Galactic Elite Academy was about to experience something it had never encountered in its 50,000 years of existence: the chaotic, unpredictable, and strangely innovative power of human underachievers with something to prove. The first week at the Galactic Elite Academy proved that expectations could indeed go lower than zero. The 5 humans had managed to crash 3 quantum computers. Rihanna swore she was just trying to install Minecraft. Accidentally create a temporary black hole, Priya's attempt to make coffee with alien technology, and introduce the concept of bathroom graffiti to a species that had evolved beyond the need for physical waste elimination. "Today," announced Professor Xenith, their theoretical physics instructor whose body resembled a constellation given form, "we will discuss 11-dimensional problem-solving in non-Euclidean space." The 5 humans sat in their designated corner of the classroom, dubbed the primitive section by their classmates. While their alien peers connected directly to the quantum learning matrix, the humans had to make do with what they had: notebooks, pencils, and what Tom called their aggressively analog brains. "For the benefit of our Earth students," Professor Xenith said with a particular tone reserved for discussing particularly hopeless cases, "I will attempt to explain this in terms you might comprehend." "Oh, this'll be good," Jack whispered, already doodling what appeared to be a pizza topped with mathematical symbols. The professor projected a problem into the center of the room, a swirling, shifting mass of geometric impossibilities that made most of the humans' eyes water. "You have 42 microseconds to solve it." While their alien classmates immediately began processing the problem through their advanced cognitive interfaces, the 5 humans stared at the projection with varying degrees of confusion and fascination. "You know what this reminds me of?" Rihanna said suddenly, sitting up straighter. "It's like that one level in Ultra Quest VI, where you have to rearrange the cosmic puzzle pieces to prevent the universe from unraveling." Lucia, who had been attempting to photograph the projection for her blog, and failing, as the image seemed to exist in more dimensions than her phone could handle, perked up. "Wait, you mean like a puzzle game?" "Exactly." Rihanna grabbed Jack's pizza doodle and flipped it over. "Look, if we treat each dimension as a separate game level." Priya's knitting needles began moving with renewed purpose. "I see what you mean. It's not about solving each dimension separately. It's about finding the patterns that connect them." "Like speedrunning," Tom exclaimed, perhaps a bit too loudly, drawing disapproving glares from their alien classmates. "Sorry," he whispered, "but think about it. Speedrunners don't play the game the way it's supposed to be played. They find the glitches, the shortcuts, the things the designers never expected." Rihanna finished, growing excited. "Professor," she called out, raising her hand and nearly knocking over her hover desk in the process. Professor Xenith's stellar form flickered with surprise. None of the humans had voluntarily participated in class before. "Yes, Miss Torres. Instead of trying to solve each dimensional equation separately, what if we looked for the glitches?" Glitches. The professor's stars rearranged themselves in what might have been confusion. "Yeah, like," Rihanna looked at her friends for support. "Like the places where the dimensions don't quite line up," Priya offered, holding up her knitting, which had somehow captured the problem's pattern in yarn form. "The shortcuts through space-time." Jack added, flipping his doodle back over to reveal that his pizza toppings had inadvertently mapped out a viable solution path. The spots where reality gets a little fuzzy, Lucia contributed, showing them her phone's failed attempts to photograph the projection, which, impossibly, had captured exactly the anomalies they were trying to describe. It's like sequence breaking in a speedrun, Tom explained, pulling up one of his video essays on his tablet. Instead of solving the puzzle the way it's designed, you find the places where the code doesn't quite work right, and use them to your advantage. The classroom had fallen silent. Even the quantum learning matrix seemed to be humming more quietly than usual. Professor Xenith drifted closer to examine their work, the knitted pattern, the pizza diagram, the glitched photos, the gaming references, and Tom's surprisingly relevant video analysis. Their stellar form expanded and contracted rapidly, the equivalent of a sharp intake of breath. "This is unprecedented," they finally said. "You've identified a pattern that our traditional problem-solving methods overlooked. By thinking in terms of system exploits rather than proper mathematical procedures, you've found a solution that is both elegant and deeply concerning." "Does that mean we got it right?" Jack asked hopefully. "It means," Professor Xenith replied, their stars now arranged in what might have been a smile, "that you've demonstrated why the universe should perhaps be grateful that humans never developed proper multidimensional computational abilities. You've instead developed something far more dangerous: creativity." The other students were now staring at the humans with a new expression, not quite respect, but definitely curiosity. Some were even disconnecting from the quantum matrix to examine the pizza diagram more closely. "So," Rihanna said, grinning, "does this mean we pass?" "Pass." Professor Xenith's form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "Miss Torres, you and your fellow humans have just revolutionized our understanding of dimensional analysis. Though I must insist that we find a more rigorous term than glitch exploitation for the official documentation." As the humans celebrated their first academic victory, complete with high fives that thoroughly confused their alien classmates, High Administrator Zilix observed from the doorway, their tentacles shifting through thoughtful shades of blue and green. "Fascinating," they murmured to their geometric assistant. "They're not solving problems the way they're supposed to be solved. They're finding ways around them entirely." The assistant's shapes rearranged themselves into a pattern that clearly expressed concern about this development. "Indeed," Zilix agreed. "Alert the other faculty members. I believe we need to reconsider our approach to teaching these humans. They're not following the curriculum as designed. And that might be exactly why we need them." No one expected the quantum fluctuation. Then again, no one expected 5 academically challenged humans to become the talk of the Galactic Elite Academy either. Life, as Lucia frequently pointed out to her rapidly growing extraterrestrial blog audience, had a way of defying expectations. The day began normally enough, or as normal as things could be when you're teaching aliens about Earth meme culture as part of an unprecedented cultural exchange program, Tom's latest academic project, which had somehow been approved for extra credit. "And this is why humans say, 'It's Wednesday, my dudes,'" Tom explained to a classroom of bewildered alien students, while Professor Xenith hovered nearby, documenting everything for a paper titled "Primitive Communication Methods and Their Unexpected Applications in Quantum Theory." That's when the lights flickered. In a station powered by artificial quantum singularities, lights don't just flicker. "That's not supposed to happen, is it?" Jack asked, pausing in his demonstration of how to properly fold a paper airplane, another cultural exchange initiative that had several alien physicists questioning their understanding of aerodynamics. The geometric shapes that made up Administrator Zolix's assistant burst into the classroom, rearranging themselves into what could only be described as panic. The message was clear: emergency meeting, main assembly hall, immediately. Finally, Rihanna whispered as they hurried through the corridors, something more interesting than theoretical quantum mechanics. "Theoretical quantum mechanics is interesting," Priya protested, her knitting needles clicking away at what appeared to be a scale model of the space station's quantum core. The assembly hall was chaos, or at least what passed for chaos among the galaxy's most intelligent beings. Administrators huddled in floating discussion pods, professors projected complex equations into the air, and students from 100 different species tried to access the quantum network for updates. High Administrator Xylix's tentacles were cycling through colors so rapidly they looked like a malfunctioning disco ball. The quantum core is experiencing unprecedented fluctuations, they announced. Our best theories suggest we have hours before total containment failure. What exactly does total containment failure mean? Lucia asked, already recording everything for her blog. It means, Professor Xenith's stellar form dimmed slightly, that the artificial quantum singularity powering this station will become unstable, potentially creating a cascade of temporal anomalies that could rewrite the causality of this entire sector of space. So bad, Jack offered. Imagine every moment in time happening simultaneously while also never happening at all, one of the alien students explained condescendingly. Oh, Tom brightened, like that one episode of Doctor Who. Before the aliens could express their disdain for primitive Earth entertainment, Rihanna stepped forward, her expression eerily similar to the one she wore when facing a particularly challenging game boss. "Can we see the core's control interface?" she asked. The aliens exchanged glances. The quantum core interface requires an advanced understanding of 17-dimensional mathematics and, Professor Xenith began. Yeah, Rihanna interrupted. But can we see it? Moments later, they stood before the quantum core's main control room. Holographic displays showed the deteriorating containment field, while streams of data in alien languages flickered across every surface. "This is amazing," Priya breathed, her knitting needles moving faster than ever. "Look at these patterns. Reminds me of the power management system in Stellar Conquest AX," Rihanna mused. "You know, the one where you have to balance the energy flow or the whole ship explodes. Which you managed to break by finding an exploit in the coolant subsystems," Jack remembered. "Hold up," Lucia said, squinting at the displays. "These energy patterns, they're almost like the crop circles I've been studying. There's a repeating sequence." Tom was already pulling up references on his tablet. "It's like those old computer viruses that would create recursive loops in system processes. The quantum core isn't failing. It's stuck in a feedback loop." The aliens stared at them. "These are highly advanced quantum mechanics," one professor protested. "You can't possibly compare them to primitive computer games and conspiracy theories." "Why not?" Rihanna challenged. "The system is a system. Whether it's quantum mechanics or game mechanics, there's always a pattern, always a glitch to exploit. And crop circles are totally made by aliens," Lucia added. "I mean, look around. Clearly, I was right about that one." Priya held up her knitting. Somehow, she had captured the quantum fluctuation pattern in yarn. "See, the problem isn't in the math, it's in the rhythm. The containment field isn't failing, it's stuttering. Like when a game can't decide which animation frame to use." Rihanna nodded. "Or when a viral loop can't find its endpoint," Tom added. "Or when a pizza gets stuck in an infinite delivery loop because the address doesn't exist," Jack contributed, earning some very confused looks from everyone. Administrator Xylix's tentacles had settled into a deep purple of contemplation. "You're suggesting we treat this quantum crisis as if it were a game bug," Rihanna exclaimed. "And what do you do with a bug?" "You exploit it," Tom grinned. "You patch it," Priya corrected. "You document it for your conspiracy blog," Lucia added. "You deliver pizza to the correct address," Jack said, then quickly added, "Sorry, still thinking about the pizza thing." The humans huddled together, combining their uniquely unqualified perspectives into something that just might work. Rihanna's gaming strategies, Priya's pattern recognition, Lucia's conspiracy theory connections, Tom's media analysis, and Jack's unique way of looking at problems. As they explained their solution to the increasingly bewildered alien faculty, even Professor Xenith's stellar form seemed to brighten with understanding. It's completely unprecedented, the professor admitted. It violates at least 7 laws of quantum mechanics, but it just might work. That's basically our specialty, Tom grinned. High Administrator Zilix raised all 3 appendages in approval. Begin the procedure. And someone please document this. The Galactic Science Academy will never believe it otherwise. As Rihanna cracked her knuckles and approached the quantum interface, she smiled. Time to speedrun saving the space station. Are you absolutely certain this will work? High Administrator Zilix's tentacles twisted with anxiety as Rihanna approached the quantum core's control interface. Nope, Rihanna replied cheerfully, her fingers hovering over the holographic controls. But that's never stopped me from trying to beat an impossible level before. The plan they had devised was, as Professor Xenith put it, either brilliant or catastrophically stupid. It involved treating the quantum core's containment field like a game engine, the temporal anomalies like software bugs, and the entire space station like one massive system to be exploited. Priya, how's that pattern analysis coming? Rihanna called out. Priya held up her latest creation, a complex web of knitted quantum equations that somehow mapped the core's fluctuations. Got it. The pattern repeats every 3.7 microseconds, but there's a gap at the quantum level. Just like the frame skip glitch in Ultra Quest VI. Rihanna nodded. Tom, you ready with the temporal measurements? Tom had rigged his tablet to interface with the station's sensors, using what he called the universal language of memes to translate the data. Ready. And I'm recording everything for my thesis on the application of gaming strategies in quantum crisis management. Lucia had her phone out, documenting everything. My followers are going to love this. Humans save space station using video game logic. That's definitely going viral across at least 3 dimensions. Jack, meanwhile, had been studying the station's quantum delivery systems. You know, if we think of the temporal anomalies like missed deliveries, we just need to reroute them to the correct temporal address. The alien faculty watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans began implementing their plan. Rihanna treated the quantum interface like a game controller, timing her inputs to match the patterns in Priya's knitting. Tom provided real-time analysis using an unholy combination of mean references and actual physics. Lucia documented everything while simultaneously using her conspiracy theory knowledge to predict quantum fluctuations. And Jack, well, Jack kept everyone's spirits up by explaining how this was all just like optimizing pizza delivery routes through space-time. Now, Rihanna shouted, executing a perfect sequence of commands that would make any speedrunner proud. The quantum core pulsed with energy. For a moment, everything seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, a phenomenon that the humans would later describe as quantum lag. Then, impossibly, the core stabilized. The temporal anomalies resolved themselves. The station's power systems returned to normal. Professor Xenith's stellar form expanded in amazement. They actually did it. Using methods that violate every known principle of quantum mechanics, they actually did it. Of course we did, Rihanna grinned, performing a victory dance that confused several alien species. The universe is just one big game system, and every system has exploits. We should probably not put that in the official report, Administrator Zilix noted, though their tentacles had turned a pleased shade of pink. A new era of galactic education. The weeks following the quantum crisis brought unprecedented changes to the Galactic Elite Academy. The humans' unorthodox success had forced a revaluation of everything the Academy thought it knew about education, problem-solving, and the nature of intelligence itself. Professor Xenith's new class, Alternative Approaches to Quantum Mechanics, the Human Perspective, became the most popular course in the Academy's history. Students learned about using game theory to predict quantum behavior, applying narrative analysis to temporal mechanics, and something Jack called the pizza delivery theory of space-time. Remember, Rihanna told a class of advanced alien students, sometimes the best solution isn't the most elegant one. It's the one that works because nobody thought it should. Priya's quantum knitting patterns were being studied by theoretical physicists across the galaxy. She had somehow created a way to visualize 17-dimensional mathematics using nothing but yarn and intuition. Tom's video essays on the integration of pop culture references in advanced scientific theory became required viewing for all new students. His explanation of temporal paradoxes using cat memes was considered particularly groundbreaking. Lucia's blog had gained a massive following throughout known space. Her unique blend of conspiracy theories and actual alien encounters had created a new field of study, speculative xenoanthropology. Jack had revolutionized the Academy's approach to practical problem-solving with his pizza delivery principle, the idea that any complex problem could be simplified by thinking of it in terms of getting something from point A to point B while maintaining optimal temperature. High Administrator Zilix stood in their office, watching the Earth students teach a group of highly advanced alien beings how to use speedrunning strats to optimize quantum calculations. Who would have thought? They mused to their geometric assistant that what the galaxy's brightest minds needed most was to learn from those who never learned properly in the first place. The assistant's shapes formed what might have been a shrug, then rearranged themselves to display the latest academic rankings. The Galactic Elite Academy's performance metrics had improved by 300% since incorporating human teaching methods. Perhaps, Zilix continued, true innovation comes not from knowing all the rules, but from never quite learning them in the first place, from finding the gaps, the glitches, the unexpected connections that those of us too well-trained would never see. In the corridor outside, they could hear Rihanna explaining to a group of quantum physics students how similar particle entanglement was to cooperative speedrunning. Nearby, Priya was teaching a class about finding patterns in chaos using a combination of knitting and quantum theory. Tom was filming another educational video, this one comparing dark matter to internet memes. Lucia was interviewing a group of actual alien conspiracy theorists for her blog. And Jack was explaining to the cafeteria staff how to optimize their food delivery using principles derived from his pizza delivery days, somehow incorporating quantum mechanics into the process. The Academy had changed. The aliens had changed. And the 5 humans who had arrived as mistakes, as glitches in the system, had proven that sometimes the best way to understand the universe was to look at it from the wrong angle. Note for the records, Zilix announced to their assistant, the human exchange program is to be made permanent. And next time, perhaps we should specifically request Earth's worst students. They seem to be exactly what we need. And somewhere in the quantum core of the station, in the space between milliseconds and possibilities, the universe itself seemed to laugh in agreement. After all, who better to find the exploits in reality than those who never quite fit into it in the first place? The end.